In this video, I will use the Cyber Slime from Dragon Quest Monsters as a Pokémon in Fire Red. The Cyber Slime, or Slimeborg in Japanese, is a robotic slime monster first seen in the original Terry's Wonderland. According to his flavor text, he tried to become a metal slime but couldn't, so he's essentially a fake metal slime. For his stats as a Pokémon, I used an average of his original stats and 3DS stats, weighted slightly more in favor of the original. He will have 128 base HP, 90 attack, 75 defense, 63 special attack, 91 special defense, and 64 speed, for a total of 511. This is pretty decent for early gens, although he has no outstanding stats except HP. His default skill set in Terry's Wonderland 3D is Saboteur, which contains mostly debuffs and skills that alter or restrict the enemy's AI. Like Tactic Clamp that disables player orders and makes the target use random skills. Thankfully, there's no direct equivalent in Pokémon, or it would be horrifyingly overpowered in PvP, so I included moves like Taunt, Encore, and Torment instead. He learns Lightning in the original DQM, and uses Cazapple as an enemy in various games, so I also gave him both physical and magical zap-based skills for offense. I will set up a Cyber Slime with perfect IVs and pre-applied EVs. He will have a neutral nature, because I can edit the base stats directly to make adjustments if necessary. The slime family is equivalent to the normal type in Pokémon, and he's a cyborg, so the normal and electric typing makes sense. He's not a real metal slime, and he doesn't get metal body as a trait either, so no steel type. His Saboteur ability is based on Serene Grace, which doubles the proc rate of secondary effects. For moves without an additional effect, I based them on Tri-Attack and gave them a 10% chance to inflict each of the 3 ailments, Freeze, Paralyze, or Burn, for a 30% chance in total. These moves are just Tackle, Zap, and Cazapple, as distinguished in caps. EV-wise, Max Attack is necessary, since his base attack is only mediocre. The rest is split between Special Attack and Speed, favoring the former as he gets a few powerful special moves. He levels up at a medium rate in the original DQM games, so I put him in the standard 1 million experience group. This should allow him to learn all moves by the end without needing to grind. Those trainers and bugs in the Viridian Forest give abysmal experience, and I was only level 12 when I faced Brock. I had the stats of a fully evolved Pokémon, and he doesn't have any ground moves, so beating him wasn't difficult at all, despite my typing disadvantage. By the way, Tackle paralyzed his Geodude because of the Tri-Attack effect. The 30% total proc chance is after the Serene Grace boost, so I actually only gave it 15% in the ROM editor. The Saboteur skill set contains the DQM version of Sandstorm, which halves the enemy's accuracy of physical skills. It's like an AoE sand attack, but I gave the Cyber Slime Mud Slap instead, just so I don't have to grind for Brock. It's an awful move, but it hits the much lower special defense of his Pokémon. The biggest threat in these rival fights is usually Sand Attack on his Pidgeotto, and later Feather Dance on his Pidgeot, but this time I'm an electric type with stab moves. I also have Taunt to disable status moves, but that's redundant when I can just one-shot it. The bigger issue in this run is actually his starter, because I have nothing good against grass types, and it will get Synthesis, and probably Leech Seed, later on. Also, by giving him Bulbasaur, he will have 2 Intimidators on his team, and neither of my attack stats is particularly good. Misty Starmie is actually very overpowered this early in the game, with 100 special attack and stab water pulse that can confuse. It was faster than me, but I had the typing advantage here, and the game gave you a Persim Berry in a crevice before Mount Moon to cure confusion. Slowing Slug is a normal attack with a 50% chance to lower agility. It's classified as a slash skill, so I gave it 70 power like most other slashes in Pokémon, and made it ground type like I did in earlier runs. It will have 100% chance to lower speed due to the Serene Grace effect built into my ability. Like always, the rival battle on the ship was a joke. His team was severely underleveled, and even though they've all evolved once, those middle stage Pokémon are hardly stronger than their basic forms, and Raticate is just terrible. The Terry's Wonderland 3D version of Saboteur gets Magic Frailty that reduces the target's spell resistance, but it's a spell itself, so it doesn't work on metal slimes, which kind of defeats the purpose. Its closest equivalent in Pokémon is Metal Sound, and since it's just a filler move anyway, I'll never use it. Surge is arguably the worst gym leader in these remakes. His Raichu in yellow was level 28 with Thunderbolt and Mega Kick, but here it's only 24 with the awful Shockwave, so it's just a worse Manectric in every way. Note that electric types can still be paralyzed in Gen 3, but I had Cherry Berries for it. Lightning is a physical ability that does Sizz and Zap damage to all enemies, which the Cyber Slime learns in the original DQM. It's a tier 2 skill in the 3DS remake, so I gave it 65 power to be consistent with my earlier runs. You'll naturally be overleveled for the rival battle in the tower, due to all the unskippable trainers along the way. The only annoyance here is his 2 intimidators, but they will become a bigger problem later on, especially since I have no way of buffing my stats. His Gyarados actually had Dragon Rage and Hydro Pump here in the original Red and Green, where it also had 100 special, but they changed its level up moves in Yellow as they made it available in the wild. Erika's team is also very underleveled for solo runs, and her Pokémon are all quite slow and fragile. Gym leaders don't have EVs in these games either, so this was a free win. Torment is a move that many people have probably never used, and what it does is prevent the target from using the same move twice in a row until it switches out. It could potentially be useful against something that has only one offensive move or a choice item, making it struggle every second turn, but it's too situational. It's like a worse version of Disable, which is a crappy move itself. Koga's team brings a huge level spike, but fortunately, those bikers on the cycling road carry many evolved Pokémon that give a lot of experience. His coughing and wheezing are immune to ground due to levitate, but they don't have a lot of HP because again, gym leaders have no EVs here. I still had nothing that could one-shot the wheezing due to my mediocre attack stats and lack of boosting moves, but it couldn't do much back to me either, and I had a Pecha Berry for Toxic. I gave the Cyber Slime Flash Cannon for flavor and some special coverage, and its description was lifted straight from Latios Luster Purge. I always thought it was a Steel-type clone of Psychic, but no, it only has 80 power. This move really needs a buff, to either 90 power, or 15 PP and 20% chance to lower special defense, like Shadow Ball. Anyway, the rival battle at Sylph Company was quite easy, since I could one-shot his Pidgeot and not worry about its Sand Attack and Feather Dance. He still had 2 Intimidators though, so I was forced to have my attack halved before facing his Venusaur, which is quite bulky, and might even have some EVs at this point. I'm not a Steel type, and my special attack is pretty bad, so Flash Cannon couldn't even do half, but it was still the best thing I had against it at -2 attack. The following Giovanni fight was a joke, despite my disadvantageous typing, since none of his Pokémon had Earthquake or any ground moves here. In fact, they couldn't even be bothered to give his team custom movesets, so they only had moves that wild Pokémon would possess at their respective levels. This is why they were still using Poison, Sting and Rage. Sabrina's Pokémon have the same levels as Koga's, because you can fight these gyms in any order. Her Alakazam originally had Future Sight, which was buffed to 100 power as per Gen 5 stats, but that messed up the AI and stopped it from using Psychic. I could undo the buff or change its displayed type to normal or typeless, but then the AI would never use it at all unless I resist Psychic, so I just replaced the move entirely with Focus Blast. It didn't do a lot of damage here without special attack EV, but the rivals won in the champion battle most certainly has maxed EVs. I wish I knew how to check enemies' exact numerical stats, but I don't, as the ROM editor doesn't show them. Hellblast or Lightning Storm is the tier 3 version of Lightning, and its damage scales with the user's level. But level is already part of the damage formula in Pokémon, so I just gave it 85 power to be consistent with previous runs. Blaine's team looks more intimidating than it actually is, no pun intended, because his 2 unevolved Pokémon, as well as Rapidash, are very fragile. And Arcanine is a typical pre-advanced Pokémon designed to work with stat experience and have all 6 stats maxed out. Without EVs, it's just a mediocre Pokémon with no outstanding stats, and as you can see, my non-stab slowing slug still did over half to it at -2 attack. Giovanni might also seem hard due to my typing, but really wasn't, for the same reason as Blaine. Nidoking and Queen are useless without stat EXP, and just like Arcanine, they're all-rounders without any outstanding base stats. His team also received a pointless nerf in the remake, as his Rhydon has been replaced by a second Rhyhorn. I was easily able to one-shot everything, thanks to my level advantage, and I had a Pecha Berry just in case I got poisoned by the Nido's ability. A Rhydon would have done at least some damage to me, since it wouldn't have been one-shot by either Flash Cannon or Slowing Slug due to its increased bulk. They really should have given him Rhydon and Golem instead of the Rhyhorns, as he is the last gym leader after all. The last rival fight before the Pokémon League wasn't much of a challenge either, despite his 2 Intimidators and the Venusaur that could easily wall me. I didn't have to worry about Sand Attack or Feather Dance on his Pidgeot because I just one-shot it, and the AI in these early gens isn't smart or sophisticated enough to juggle Intimidators for the debuff. Modern competitive AI would have switched to the Gyarados immediately after sending out the Growlithe, to both debuff my attack further and avoid a potential super effective move, like the Slowing Slug here. Anyway, the only real problem on his team was the Venusaur, which I had nothing good against, especially at -2 attack. It had growth and synthesis as well, but growth only boosts special attack in Gen 3, and Razor Leaf is now physical with the ROM patch. It will be a bigger issue in the champion fight, where it has Sunny Day and Solar Beam, and maybe Giga Drain as well. Here are my stats and moves for the Pokémon League. Bluntly put, my only good stat is HP, and my attack is barely okay without Nature Boost. I should outrun most things with the 10% badge bonus, which still exists in this gen. My coverage is great, since Electric, Ground, and Steel hit everything for at least neutral damage. Saboteur gets Miracle Slash in TW3D, and it's a very weird skill that checks MP Drain resistance, although it still counts as a physical attack. I made it a typeless clone of Gen 5 Drain Punch, and it's going to be my only form of recovery. Being an electric type, Lorelei was a free win. I should have used Hellblast on her Jinx to hit its much lower physical defense, but it didn't matter since its lovely kiss missed. I couldn't be frozen while asleep anyway, and it would take at least 6 or 7 ice punches from its awful attack stat to knock me out. Bruno exists, and that's about it. Gen 1 fighting types are terrible, and even a critical cross chop from his Machamp wouldn't have been enough to one-shot me, thanks to my high level and HP. He might have been a problem if one of his stupid Onix was replaced by a second Machamp, but I guess the dev just wanted him to suck. I equipped a Lum Berry for Agatha, since all of her Pokémon can inflict ailments, and Intimidate on her Arbok could prove to be annoying. Her first Ganger and Golbat were obviously easy one-shots, but her Arbok survived a slowing slug due to my attack drop. Luckily, it didn't burn my Lum Berry with Toxic or Glare, which meant I didn't have to worry about being put to sleep by her second Ganger that would definitely survive a Hellblast at -1 attack. Well, I paralyzed it, and it missed its Hypnosis, which only has 60% accuracy in this game. Lance turned out to be quite a challenge, due to Intimidate and my lack of boosting moves. His Gyarados had a double weakness to Electric, so it was still a one-shot, but his Dragonair with Thunder Wave wasn't a two-shot with Miracle Slash at -1 attack. I think I rolled high on his first one, or they had different natures or EV distributions. There was no way I could win against his Dragonite while paralyzed, especially now that Outrage is physical and 120 power. I tried again, but my level simply wasn't high enough to two-shot the Thunder Wave Dragonair, so I just used a couple of rare candies to reach level 76 and learn Cosapple. It's the tier 4 Zap spell with no other effects, so I gave it the Tri-Attack effect with 30% total proc chance. Since I could one-shot the rival's Pidgeot, I didn't have to worry about Sand Attack or Feather Dance. I equipped a Citrus Berry for some recovery, although it only heals 30 HP in Gen 3 instead of 25% of max HP. I wasn't fast enough to outrun his Alakazam, and that allowed it to set up Reflect. Luckily, my Hellblast didn't paralyze it, or its Synchronize ability would have paralyzed me as well, and he has full restores, but I don't. Its Focus Blast missed as expected, since it only has 70% accuracy. I had nothing that could one-shot his Rhydon, and I got hit by Rock Tomb. This was pretty much GG for me since I won't be able to outrun anything else on his team at -1 speed. And just to add insult to injury, his Arcanine burned me with Flamethrower as well. My second attempt didn't go much better, since I got hit by Scary Face. I simply couldn't afford to lose any speed. I was able to make it to his Venusaur, but it was too bulky, and it could set up with growth and one-shot me with Solar Beam. Short of using more rare candies, it seemed that the only way I could win this fight was to get lucky enough to not have my speed lowered by his Rhydon, or to roll paralysis on both his Arcanine and Venusaur. The former turned out to be impossible, because the AI will always try to lower your speed when you're faster, but I got the paralyses thanks to my inbuilt Serene Grace effect. I also got a crit with Flash Cannon on his Venusaur, and it definitely mattered since he would have healed otherwise. In conclusion, this run was pretty easy in the beginning, but the Cyber Slime's poor offensive stats and lack of boosting moves made it much harder than I expected toward the end. I had to give it a couple of extra moves, like Hellblast and Flash Cannon, or it would have stood no chance in the champion battle. Thanks for watching.